This is my only remaining mini quad. In fact, it's my only remaining quad. It's an Armattan Morphite, and it's got one less motor purely because there was a bit of in fact there was a big problem. This Betaflight F3 flight controller decided to burn my motors out, so all these motors are basically scrap. This is a field not far from me. It's nice and big, so I'm going to fly this. This is my Armattan Morphite that I've just freshly fitted the Betaflight flight controller in. RS2205 2600 Summit KV motors. So I'm going to have a waz around here, but unfortunately it's only going to be DVR footage because I haven't got HD camera or any other camera on it. It's just my day today. This flew perfectly at home. I don't know what the hell's going on, but the motors are getting stupidly hot. They are to the point where they smell. I don't know, it wouldn't even take off, it wouldn't even arm properly. It was working perfect at home. It's just my luck in it. They are, although they're free, they won't turn anymore. So I don't know why. I don't know if it was the ESCs. I don't know what happened. They're not earthed before anybody says it. There's definitely no shorting going on. I don't know why. It just wouldn't fire up properly. Anyway, so it got retired. But what I've decided is, because I like this frame so much, it's a fantastic little frame, I'm going to build another one. And these are all the parts that you need, believe it or not. We've got a Runcam, what's this? The Runcam Micro Swift V2. We've got the, I'll open that in a minute. We've got Racer Star, what are these? 22, bloody size of them. BR2507. These are 2700 kV motors. So it's gonna scream. The other ones are over 2600, and they are quite meaty. They are big. So anyway, it's going to have those on it. And these are Racer Star, what are they? I think the 30 amp, I've got one open here. They come with a capacitor. What the hell are they? BL32 protocol. So they do the D-Shock, can't remember what the hell it is. I must admit, the size of these things, they've come down even more, and I didn't think it was possible. How the hell's that going to work? So I've got those, and this, I'm looking forward to using this. It's basically a flight controller, current sensor, OSD, and everything else, all in one little package, and it also has a VTX on it. F4V5 Pro, is it? Yeah, it's a switchable 25, 200, 600 milliwatt and race band and everything else, flight controller. So all you do is you plug your motor wires into there, blah blah blah, and there's loads of instruction videos, and these things have got a fantastic review. So what I'm going to do is, where's it gone? Found it. This, I'm going to strip it down to its bare essential. I'm hoping these motors sort of fit on it. Oh dear. I had to modify this one because the cutout wasn't enough. I've got another one of these actually, I might use that. That should, no, it won't fit. Ah, bugger. Yeah, it will fit. Yeah, it'll be fine. So I'm going to strip this down. Yeah, I had to cut these out because the motors, they wouldn't fit. But this will. So, yeah. I'm going to strip it down and then I'll come back and start. I stripped it down, and this beta flight, this isn't a genuine beta flight, F3 I think it was. When they first came out I decided to buy one and try it. Now the problem with this is the ground on this is so they've got such a massive ground plane. To solder all the negative wires on this was an absolute nightmare. And it was good. No, actually it wasn't. It was shit. It was totally crap. This is what caused, I think, the ESCs to burn the motors out. Anyway, I had many hours of bloody fun flying this frame. I had so much fun, and then I put that beta flight thing in and it never flew again. So the first thing I'm going to do is the first thing that, well, that's what I always do, is put the motors on. When you're putting motors on, obviously you've got a carbon fibre frame, you've got to be careful. Just a 4-note. Actually, it's a mid-note, just a mid-note. I'm doing this for people who know nothing about building. So, I apologise to the people who've been doing it for years, but what the hell's going on here? Why does this say stop recording? Buffering. What? Do you mean buffering? What the hell does that mean? Get that on YouTube, not on a bloody camcorder. Now, I apologise to anyone who's built quads, planes, boats, or anything. I'm going to have to do this as somebody who's never built something. So, carbon fibre is conductive, and if you short things out on carbon fibre, bad things happen. These things have got what's called magic smoke in them. It's fantastic stuff. It stinks to high heaven. But believe me, if you short something out on these windings, those windings in there, it'll smell. And you'll have fire and babies die and stuff. Oh God, shut up, Tony. Anyway, the first thing I'll do is put the motors on. Now, bear in mind that that bit there is the mounting part. Obviously the screw goes. Obviously the screw goes through that. So really, what you don't want is for the screw to go any further than that. So you don't want it to touch the windings. Absolutely, definitely don't touch the windings, because it will, as soon as you plug it in, you'll have a lot of smoke. Now these things come with screws. These motors. And there is 2 lengths of screws. So what I'm doing is, oh, incidentally, this thing's only got 2 holes in the motor for the motor mounts. I've never had a problem with them, so don't think, you know. See, these screws are about the right length. Yeah, can you see where those screws go to? If I was to put the longer screws in, that would go straight into the motor windings. Can you see it? Yeah, that would go straight into the motor windings, so you've always got to be careful of the length of the screw that you use. So, I'm going to put those on. Basically, look at the size of them. So, in my usual style, this thing is completely overpowered for what it is. The size of these motors. Anyway, they're all screwed in. So the next thing I'm going to do, these ESCs, I openly admit I've been out of the mini quad game for a while. I've noticed on these things, there's obviously you've got ground, which is the brown one, you've got the light brown one, which is a signal, and then there was this wire here. I thought, what's that for? Well, it turns out it's actually a telemetry. So you connect it to your flight controller and it gives you things like the voltage, the current draw and the temperature of the ESC in the flight controller. And all you need to do is connect it to one of the UART channels. You basically link them all up and you connect onto one port. Now, because I always do things extreme, I don't just do basic standard bloody stuff, you know, and I've put these bloody big motors on this tiny little 180mm frame. I'm not going to be able to get the ESCs on the arms. Well, I can. Usually what you do is you take these wires and you connect them directly to that. But what I'm going to have to do is take the heat shrink off this, take those wires off and cut these wires very, very short and solder them directly so as I can get the ESCs on there. And then I've got the wires to sort out in here. So I don't really see any other option apart from putting these up underneath, which I don't want to do because of landing. Because I do land quite heavily most of the time, you know. So I think that's the only way I'm going to do it, is take the heat shrink off and then solder these directly onto the speed controller and put them about there. If ever you wanted to see inside one of these new speed controllers, how the hell they get that to do 30 amps is ridiculous. I mean, that's a 3-phase 30 amp speed controller. I've done one of them, as you can see. The stuff I've used is just this 3M adhesive, which you can get this off Banggood. It's bloody ridiculously cheap for what it is. Just cut a square out and basically made it flat like that, and then I've soldered the wires directly onto the ESC. I don't advise you do this. I'm a professional idiot and I always do this sort of thing. That's just me. That's just the way I work. So I've got that one. I've got another 3 to do, obviously, because that'll make 4, which is always good. So one down. I might actually put a cable tie, zip tie, cable wrap thing, whatever thing round there anyway, just to protect it a bit more. These props, I'm going to, what, these 5x3 40-45 props, they just about fit on there actually, just about fit. So I'm going to do the other 3, and like I say, usually what you do is you just take the wire off the motor and you just solder it directly to the fly leads coming off the speed controller. But it's just to show you that you can actually get it very, very neat and tidy in a very small package. That's the 4 ESC soldered on. Lovely. And I know this wiring looks a bit intimidating, but believe me, it isn't. Once you've done one, it's alright. Just to go over a few things, these are the main. On each ESC usually you've only got 4 wires. You've got the thick positive and negative, which are those 2. And then you have this one here, which is the signal wire and the ground for the signal. I mean, you don't really need the ground wire because it's grounded anyway, but it's good to put it in, it's good practice. So obviously you just connect that to wherever on your flight controller, which I'll go through in a bit. But these have got telemetry as well, so I'm going to be connecting those up just to see what happens. Things have progressed quite a lot actually. So the next thing I'm going to do is mount the flight controller. So I've got these here. I'm going to put those through dickhead. Put those there. Is that right? Yeah, I'm going to put those there, put a nut on the bottom, and then I'll put the flight controller on and I can screw them in with these screws here. These are nylon screws. I'm not using any dampening because I don't see any need for it. These new motors are all pretty well balanced. They're not like they used to be. So the props themselves, they're perfectly balanced. I know that because I've used them God knows how many times. I'm going to put those on and then I'll come back when I've fitted the flight controller. This flight controller comes with a battery connector on it. Well, it doesn't come with it on it, obviously. So you get this, basically a battery connector that you solder on. And I know I've mentioned this before, but if you want to solder these things together, if you solder wires on there, it basically pulls the pins through and it melts them. So to stop it happening, just get something like that and put it together. So now I can put that nice and neatly on there, and then I can solder it on the underside. Just a tip, when you're soldering things on, make sure that you put them on the right way. Well, I remember, this is the flight controller and VTX, OSD, current sensor, bloody everything all in one. Well, I remember, before you fire this thing up, even by USB, make sure you've got an antenna connected to it, because otherwise the VTX on the underside, you'll fry it. One thing I forgot, which is a very crucial part, is the receiver. Now this is a FreeSky X, is it XM? This is a FreeSky RXSR. Which is S-Bus, I think it is. I hope it's S-Bus anyway. I've lost it. Which is ridiculously small. Ridiculous. So that's got to go, I don't know where yet. Be on the back somewhere. On here, what I've done, I mean, it looks... Look at the state of that. I've got a few wires. I've plugged these wires in the flight controller first because it might be a bit difficult getting them in after I've put the ESC power wires on, which I have done. That's easy enough. Just it's marked up positive, positive, negative, negative. All you do is you feed those to that. I think I'm going to mount that on the back there. Shall I? Will it be that way? Yeah, I think I'll mount that on the back there, because it's going to be going forwards and that'll be the highest point, so I would have thought that'd have been the obvious choice. So that's going to go there. Obviously the top plate is going to go on the top. Is that going to be accessible? Yeah, the power switch is accessible, or the power connector, sorry. So where's the instructions? Oh, I'm going to wire the ESCs up. I'm going to wire the ESCs up. And so the ESC ports or points are... Oh, there's the ESC. The ESC points are that one that you got, that one there which goes to this motor, you got that one there goes to that motor, that goes to that motor, that goes to that motor. That's simple as. We don't need the earth wire, as I've already mentioned, so I'm just going to put the signal wire, which is the lighter grey. I'm just going to put those on there. I'm doing this as clean as I can so as people can actually see what I'm doing, because it always helps. These are the signal wires which I've connected. I've taken the ground wire off just to save confusion, and of course so as you can see what I'm doing a bit better. So there's the signal wires. There's 4 of them that goes onto there. So the next thing I'm going to do is figure out these wires. Yeah, I've got to connect these telemetry wires up to one of the UARTs, which I don't know which one it is yet or where they are. I'm going to have to look in the book. And as every man knows, that's a bloody sign of weakness.